Hey guys,
What's going on?
I'm Deusa,
Nadia.
and welcome to
What the
Fuck is Nirvana. Okay, so
We have a lot on our list today.
we do. We have a lot to talk about. Well, first, I think what we should talk about is
Was our week?
what we did on Easter.
So we went to the Renaissance Fair.
Renaissance Festival.
It was a lot of fun.
First time I've ever been.
Same. And
Yeah.
what was the consensus?
Well, I just always really liked Game of Thrones or any medieval movies or just anything medieval, King Arthur. So,
Just the Renaissance era in general is.
yeah, medieval, Renaissance, all that shit, because it's all shit intertwined. But to me, it's actually, I was like, damn. And you know, it's like things that nerds go to.
So it was a bunch of nerds,
stereotypically.
right? But I'd like to call them misfits. Like,
Uh-huh.
you know, and I consider us like misfits.
No, we're
kind of,
definitely
You know?
misfits.
It's like people that have been in many different, what am I trying to say? Like scenes and scenarios.
subs.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like they don't belong in any one of them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you
because
kind of
like,
adapt to all of them.
yeah, because we're just authentically us. And we
Because
don't
there were
give a
people there
fuck.
that were like goth kind of, but if you were to like, oh, you're goth, they'd be like, no, I'm.
Just like me.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool because you saw people in night gear. You saw this guy. He looked like a samurai.
Or Vikings.
Vikings.
Oh, yeah, the samurai was really
Bro,
cool. The
this
samurai
shit was
really
so
cool.
fucking cool. And then they had this whole like show kind of play out where like
Ooh,
they
the
were sword
knights.
fighting the knights, and they were, what's the game that they play when
They were jousting. I think that's what it's
Jousting.
called when they have the horses and they're.
Yeah,
they-
and
they
they
killed
put on
that
like a
shit.
little show, and we were kind of into it. And me and Nadia were like, "Off with his head!" in the background, and then there was like
we were wilding.
parents, and we were like, "Well,
Sorry, we're into it.
we're into it, so get over it."
But there were some cool parents there that brought their kids too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some cool moms.
Yeah, it was fire.
It
I would
was-
definitely go again.
Oh, we're
And-
going again next.
Yeah,
next year for
and I think
sure.
that,
some more gear, some more dress up, attire.
That's a good initiation for like if a boy wants to date you, like come to the Renaissance Festival with me.
Because again, it's something you want those misfits where they can kind of
Yeah.
blend in any group they go to.
And can you just have fun anywhere you go? Do you think you're too good to go to the Renaissance
You
Festival?
think you're too good to keep this accent on for 4 hours?
I think I could if I really wanted to, but it's like if you want to date me, you have to be able to go anywhere
Yeah,
and have fun.
Uh-huh.
So that's how I feel about that. So that was dope. Shout out
Yeah.
to Nadia for bringing me.
Shout out to Sophia for making me go.
That point,
So that I
that
made
part.
you go for sure.
Yeah.
Because I definitely had my judgment about it, my
Yeah.
my prejudice about the Renaissance Fair, but it definitely exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, I just never knew when it was. I go by myself. And
All I knew was turkey legs. That's all I
Turkey
knew.
leg.
That's all I knew. And I went and I got one too because I wanted it.
yeah, turkey legs. Yum, 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 yum. Well, anyways, okay, so enough about that.
Enough about our weekend.
Alright,
Let's
so,
talk about this movement.
All right, so if you guys haven't heard, this just in. Southern Korean women are doing what's called the 4B movement.
Something that a lot of people actually have been doing. A lot of girls have been in this movement without even realizing it.
Yeah.
Part of this movement without even realizing it.
The divine feminine is waking up everywhere in every country with every ethnicity. And these women are fucking putting their money where their mouth is.
So for anyone who doesn't know, the 4B movement did originate, like Layla said, in South Korea. It's basically women who have sworn off of marriage, procreating, men in general, dating.
Sex.
Yeah.
Just
sex,
not
all of it.
participating.
Just all major activities with men.
Yeah, we're just not participating in the patriarchy at all, they said.
And that's the best part about it is that they're not even fighting the patriarchy.
Yeah.
They're just ignoring it.
Literally, like,
They're like, you know what?
You
I
guys over
can't
here.
change men, but I'm going to change the patriarchy in society. I'm going to change society by changing what I'm doing.
exactly.
And that's a beautiful thing.
And indirectly, the birth rates are going down in Korea or South Korea, so they're thinking about changing some policies. So it's actually fucking working.
Femicide has been going down. Like revenge porn, just things in general that that the patriarchy spits at us,
Yeah.
Like that toxic shit.
And South Korea, the women there had it bad when it came to the patriarchy. I mean, I know it's bad everywhere, but they had it like really, really bad.
Yeah, their femicide rates were up.
Yeah. and just the gender roles, and men don't have to do anything but are the leader of the household. What?
Household, or even like business settings, like even at the workplace.
In politics.
Just domestic violence in general. Yeah, South Korea specifically was definitely was fucked up at a point before this movement. I mean, just like most countries where patriarchy, and that's almost all countries, where patriarchy leads, is the catalyst of society almost.
Yeah, so let's listen to this video and give us a little bit of insight about what the 4B movement is. Hit it.
Have you guys heard of the 4B movement in South Korea? The women of South Korea's 4B movement aren't fighting the patriarchy. They're leaving it behind entirely. There's been a small but growing women's movement in South Korea in response to widespread cases of femicide, revenge, and dating violence, and a surge in spy cam crimes overwhelmingly committed by... You already knew. And the fact that all of these crimes mostly resulted in slaps on the wrist, like fines and suspended jail sentences, if they were prosecuted at all. And so protesters in South Korea went ham. And several women's movements were created in response, like the 4B movement. 4B is shorthand. Bihan is the refusal of a heterosexual marriage. Bichulsan is the refusal of childbirth. Biyonye, damn, my Korean is good, is saying no to dating. And bisexual is the rejection of heterosexual relationships. Many in the 4B movement believe this is the only path with which Korean women today can live autonomously. In their view, Korean men are essentially beyond redemption. Where have I heard that before? And Korean culture on a whole is hopelessly patriarchal and often downright misogynistic. While 4B adherents may hope to change society, they are not trying to change the men whom they view as their oppressor.
Spy cam wear in the bathrooms in general.
Sick.
Like, even men should see, like, these actions as a problem. Revenge porn.
They're literally, like, weaponizing our lives against us.
Yeah.
Like, weaponizing us having sex, weaponizing us going to the bathroom.
It's disgusting. It's inhumane, and I completely understand. And honestly, this stuff has been needing to change for like decades now, centuries.
I think that the 4B movement is like a good push because again, to this movement because I feel like it's something that women have been on for a minute. You know, like it's not just us. It's not just the women in Korea, in South Korea.
Right.
You know, this has been something that, we've been...
This is needed to create real change. Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, boycotts. You know how you utilize boycotts and boycotts create changes. You know what I'm saying?
Girl.
And it's like, and it's not like physical. We're not fighting. We're just like choosing where we choose to spend our energy. And that's why I feel like this is so effective, and it's really making policy changes in Korea. And I think that's really, really special. And I do think it's gonna come to the West. Okay, let's finish this.
Like peaceful resistance. You
Yeah.
know? It's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think it's so funny that Korean women are so done with Korean men that they're literally just deciding to die out. Y'all heard of the 4B movement? I'm a big fan. Korean women literally just gave up on their men. They're like, they're not gonna change, so we're all gonna go extinct. Which they literally are, by the way. Korea has like the lowest birth rates in the world. It's like really bad. But I just think that's so funny. That's also very Korean. Like Korean as an ethnicity is about to go away, and Korean women are literally just like...
I think it's dope that it's traveled to the West, and I think that the way that the West and the way that we've even been introduced to it on TikTok, it's the same concept but a different approach. In that, like, it's again no marriage, no sex, no blah blah blah, but it's with the videos that I watch, specifically with morons, like no procreating with morons, to let natural selection do its thing. And when we say morons, that's obviously a very general term.
Right.
We just mean average and below.
Right. Or whatever your standards are, just like...
Of men, yeah.
Make sure you're not compromising yourself and your standards. to just be with just anybody out of scarcity.
For sure. Everybody's standards are different.
Yeah, like I remember like this 4B movement. This is the first time I've heard it as definitive, because Queenmaker kind of speaks about like the kind of the same thing that they're saying, but she doesn't call it the 4B movement. But she's like, we just need to stop dealing with men like in general. But the fact that they have like a movement already doing it, I do think like a 4B westernized version. I do see women doing that here.
However, I don't see them, because I feel like the women in Korea, that's it. It's an end-all, be-all type thing. They're literally not, it doesn't matter. It's like a movement of women who are like, no, to all men. It doesn't matter if you're a good man. Like, it doesn't matter if you want to convince me this. It's like, again, we're all boycotting. And in order for boycotting to work, everybody has to do it.
Right.
And so I think it's like the difference between 4B in South Korea and then in the West is that the women in the West, we're trying to like basically make our chances better when finding a good man by shutting the door once, you know, we find something that probably isn't to our liking.
I don't know. I think we're in the infant stages of doing our own 4B movement.
Oh,
like,
hell
because
yeah.
that 4B movement has been established, but I genuinely see like in the beginning stages of like the 4B movement just in the Western way, outside of like, okay, women, we're just going to do better, but like as a collective, like not every woman, but a strong collective of women just being like, no.
Yeah.
For now, until like stuff, the talk about patriarchy and stuff starts to change and the policies start to change.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. That's what I think it's going to end up happening. I really think women are really going to like practice that here.
I mean, we're on that, you know, like, and I think that I think it's going to be practiced on a wider scale. Like, women are going to be able to put a name to it.
Yeah.
I think it's being done,
4B.
but it's like, yeah, but women are going to be able to like, oh yeah, I'm part of the 4B movement.
Yeah.
Type shit.
Yeah, because I didn't know that like 4B, I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't know we were part of a
But
group.
we were already doing
part of a
it. We
group.
were already doing it. So I'm like, oh shit, they are ahead of their time, like for real. This is like, okay, I feel like this is a good depiction of like the Western version of 4B and why it's needed in the Western,
For
like
sure. Why it's traveling.
yeah, and why it's So men, if you what's the big hype? What's going on? What's the big deal?
Listen, please.
Listen to this video. Like seriously, she breaks it down really good.
The same way that you would find comfort from a 200-pound weight being unshackled from your fucking foot. That's how. The societal expectation for men in relationships is that they get to take. That's why men find comfort in relationships and not a single life. The societal expectation for women in relationships is that they are going to give, oftentimes receiving nothing in return. So you tell me, how do women find comfort in that? Very easily, because they're not being drained by men, because women have realized that relationships with men happen at their expense. That's why it is better for women to be single than to be with a man, just to be with a man, okay? And for men, it is the opposite. It is harder for them to be single, and it is literally easier and still more beneficial for them to get into a relationship, even with a woman that they don't like. That's why a lot of women will spend 5 to 7 to 8 years without a ring because some loser man is telling them that, oh, I just don't believe in marriage and all of that, da-da-da-da-da. And then that same man will break up with his girlfriend of 8 years and be engaged in 3 to 6 months because a relationship for a man is just a calculation. It's an expense calculation. It's a money in, money out calculation that benefits them. And now that women have started doing the calculation and saying, oh, you know what? This is actually not worth it for me. It's worth it for you. I can see that. But it's actually not worth it for me. Now men are over here wondering, well, how will women ever find comfort in a single life where they're not being taken advantage of and exploited and used for their labor and used for the intimate pleasures of a man who gives them nothing in return, who gives them no intimate pleasures in return, that they have to get on birth control so that he can enjoy those intimate pleasures, that they have to feed, that they have to clean up after, that they have to think for, literally think for. Oh, well, why didn't you remind me? Why didn't you tell me? I didn't know that was important to you. Look around and think. Why do women have to think for you? Oh, what will women do without men? What will women do when they're not in a relationship? They're gonna be fucking happy. That's what they're gonna do. That's how they're gonna find comfort. Women have friends. Women are not ashamed to make a deep emotional connection with another woman, the way that men are to do with another man. Women will go out and find community because women haven't stigmatized helping other people. Men have. Women are going to pick up a hobby that's infinitely more rewarding, less stressful, and you actually get to take credit for your own hobby. Most women never even get to take credit for how they've built a man up, for how they taught him everything he knows. Before he takes all of that, then feels like he's leveled up, and then leaves them for the next one. Leaves them for a woman that he couldn't get before.
And how many times has this, like, how many women do you know?
Built.
How many women do you know that this has happened to? How many times do you feel like you've done this? That you've like built
I used
a
to
man up
think
in
that like
relationships and
that's
then-
what you're supposed to do is like build a guy up. These men are a little slow. We gotta build. Oh my God.
Why do we think that? Because the patriarchy has
Yeah.
led us to believe that. I mean, we need to help these men because they fucking need it. Because they fucking need it.
Do you have an example of building a guy up or like a scenario or like a end result? Like, let's talk about it.
I know in my past relationship, I definitely put my ex on for sure. Whether it be money-wise, credit, living situation. Only to get played, only to get cheated on. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter if you cooked, if you cleaned, if you paid half the bills, if
Right.
you helped them with, build them up, helped them, drove them to their job, did all this stuff. At the end of the day, he's going to do what he wants to do.
Yeah. And
And-
take your kindness for weakness.
Of course. And again, this is not to say all men.
Right.
But this is what I've seen a lot in relationships, like in my friends' relationships that I'll, from the outside looking in, I see a lot of men like using their girlfriend without even like, to me, it's unconscious, right?
Right.
It's like they're like, oh, well, why wouldn't she be cooking for me and doing this for me and doing that for me and doing blah, blah, blah. It's because they get so used to it that at this point it's like, all right, why aren't you wiping their ass too? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, examples of like how doing the work for a man in a way, like trying to build him up. Because I remember there was a time where it's like I used to struggle because I used to see potential in people. And like I used to think that, I think it's because my mom was an alcoholic, so like I used to always have to help her. You know what I'm saying? That it kind of went on that hero, what is called martyr, like hero complex, went into my dating life, and I used to attract these men that I used to have to build up. And then I'm like, oh my God, if I build them up, then we're gonna be perfect. And then I had to learn like no, because that's gonna fucking backfire. You're gonna waste your time. I remember I was in a relationship with a guy for like 2+ years. And I waited for a while to even get into a relationship because I'm like, no, you need to be spiritually here. You need to be eating here, like on this level. Like you need to like upgrade your frequency for you to match where I'm at, because I'm dating to marry. So if we could just date, but if you want to be with me, you got to be on this level that I'm on. You know what I'm saying? So I low-key like changed his fucking life. And then we moved in together. We both have great jobs at the time. And then there was a secret he was keeping from me, though, that ended up revealing itself whenever he lost his job. And then the biggest issue was that he was so used to me, like, all right, I was paying everything. I was on it. I was making good money. He got so comfortable that he wasn't in a rush to get another one. Mm-hmm. And then, like, he wasn't in a rush to make sure, like, his part of the bills were paid. He was okay with me paying for everything. It got to the points where I felt like I was being like used, like you're kind of too comfortable. And I feel like it was unconscious. I don't feel like he was consciously doing it.
here I was just about to say, it's him being comfortable and him just being okay with that.
Yeah, but on the other hand,
Not malicious.
No, not malicious, but nigga, you know what the fuck you're doing, because I would come in when the first would come, I'd be like, nigga, how much you got towards rent? Mind you, my rent's like $1,200. And this nigga's like, oh, I got like $200. Nigga, what? You got $200, bro? And then like we used to get into it because like he had bad money spending habits. Like he would have a certain amount of money, because I would let him home my car and do Uber Eats while I would be at work. And then he would make a certain amount of money and I'd be like, okay, let's save it. He'd go out and spend it. And then I'm like, dude, you just spent the fucking bill money. Like, what are you know what I'm saying? And it's like, and so it got to the point to where, and then it's like, okay, while I'm at work, I was like, we're going to print 10 resumes. Go, while I'm at work, take my car. Because I used to have to Uber home too, because he would have my car and shit like that. Take my car, go drop off 10 applications to 10 different places. Do you think he did that when he came to pick me up? No. Because he was hiding something from me, and he just wasn't qualified to get jobs that he wanted all the way, which was the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back. However, my point is, I thought that helping someone, building a man, seeing the potential, pushing a man to that place is the best way to, like, groom him into a husband material. But even all that alone, all of that, like, energy I put into him instead of putting it into myself was, like, a loss.
And they low key think they're grooming us when they're playing that role. To groom us to be that woman that they want. And one thing that I know you relate to with this is that, like, especially in your case with your mom being an alcoholic. In my case, my mom, she's a cancer survivor, and I felt like growing up I was almost parentified by her. It's like you have to take that role of being like, for your parent. Sometimes as the child, you switch roles in some instances, and I felt like that a lot growing up. So I feel like that kind of just like showed in my relationships when I was growing up, because I was like, oh, let me show them love by doing X, blah, 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 like being a parent to them. And for men, they love that shit.
Yeah, they do, because you remind them of their mom.
Exactly. And it's like, if they don't check that, because that's not love.
Yeah.
That's a slave.
Or it's just like, that's your mom. That's mother.
That's your mom. Exactly. That's a housekeeper. That's a cook.
It's important for women to understand what is channeling through them. I didn't understand my maternal instincts were channeling through me more than feeling like completely secured in my feminine energy and having that. So for a long time, I had to understand the difference between the two, because obviously there was something about me that made him feel like he could be codependent as well.
But it's also the culture that we have here. It's that ride or die culture.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you gotta ride with me, you gotta blah, blah, blah. What it's like, what did B. Simone say? Every time I ride, I die.
Literally. Because it got to the point to where, like, I literally, like, he was not contributing to the household at all. And it got to the point where, like, I broke up with him, and I'm like, you gotta go. And his family fucking hates me, but they don't understand, like, I tried. And I can't help it when if I have more ambition than a man, and a man doesn't want to be on his shit. Like, I would completely understand, like, if it was the other way around. And I'd be like, bro, you got to get on your shit. You're like, because in my head, I'm like, damn, like, and this is what a lot of women got to think when they're in relationships with men. Like, if you had a baby, if you got pregnant tomorrow, would that man be able to support you? If the answer is no,
then
what are we doing?
Him? Like,
what are we doing? So, but that was a good build a Barbara example when I was in that phase. And I think I'm, like, fully out of that phase now. Sprinkle says that.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah. She says, Barbara the Builder. But, yeah.
Okay, I get it now.
I think I'm kind of over that phase now. It's come a long way, but.
For sure.
And then, like, I feel like healers, like, when you're naturally a healer, you naturally want to heal people around you.
And give.
And give.
And give and give and give. And and men are very open to receiving.
Yeah, they are.
They're very, and it's, again, we're not saying this in a malicious way. We're not saying this that, like, they're like, oh, I just want it all.
Right.
It's just, it just happens, when women are giving, their men's nature is to receive, and sometimes they can get carried away. Like, sometimes it becomes, again, like,
or they just take.
Form a habit, you become comfortable, and you're like, all right, well, where is it?
Yeah.
If you don't get what it is.
Exactly.
But what we have noticed is that, like, women, like, say, a couple breaks up, a lot of the time it's like the guy's kind of not better off and the girl is. It's like, because when women are single, it's like we have more value, and when men aren't, when men are with a woman, they have more.
That's true.
They have more value.
That's a good
as
point.
Well.
Yeah. And then, damn, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Oh, like, okay, so women being healers. What I had to learn as, like, a healer myself, I had to learn, like, stop putting all of your energy into trying to evolve a man. Put all your energy into yourself and put it into a craft that's going to affect the collective.
The community.
So the community, so that your energy is going to the community instead of just channeling it into one person. Man. And then you'll feel even more fulfilled than you did. Like, you're using your superpowers in the wrong areas. And I had to learn that. And then I was like,
we think those superpowers are for our one true love.
Yeah.
When it's like, girl, that's you.
Yeah.
That's you, and that's the women around you.
Exactly.
And whatnot. And it's from the ride or die culture, and it's from also the narrative that men try to convince us that, like, oh, you're going to die alone with your 100 cats and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, women don't die alone if they thrive in a community of women.
Yeah.
And if you're in a community of women, you're never alone.
Exactly.
So that narrative is
It's
something that
usually-
men are afraid of, that they try to, project on us.
And men usually can't be alone. I remember I was in Publix one time, and this older dude, like, he was, like, pushing a cart. And I was like, bro, you need some help? Because I love old people. So I'm like, he's like 80-something. I said, bro, you need help? He's like, my wife just passed away, and, like, she did everything for me, and I don't know what to do with myself. I don't even know how to cook. I got to learn how to cook. I got to learn how to...
And that's
I'm
really
like,
sad.
damn.
That's really sad, but we've literally seen the research done about women living longer lives when they don't have a husband, and men living longer lives when they do have a wife.
Yeah. Yep.
Make it make sense.
Yep. So
it make sense.
Some ain't adding up. But let's finish this, because she was spitting that real shit.
Relationships are a net loss for women. So how do you find comfort in being single? You might be single as a woman, but at least you are not an unpaid housekeeper, chef, personal planner, escort, all that and more to some loser man for free. That's the comfort. That's the comfort in that. Is you're thinking, I might be alone, but at least I'm not cooking somebody's every meal, cleaning up after them, replacing and fixing things that they've destroyed because of their thoughtlessness, feeling like shit all the time, high cortisol levels, risk of pregnancy, risk of being cheated on, risk of being embarrassed, losing your close friendships, your close family relationships, losing your career, having kids for a man, risk of giving up your education for a man because a man's career is more important. And because, he's going to be the breadwinner someday to another woman that didn't help build him. He's going to take the value that you provided into his life, use it to build himself up, and leave you without your education, without your career, without all the things that you gave up for him. And you know what he's going to say at the end? He's going to say, you didn't have to do any of that. So where do you find comfort? I don't know, ladies, you tell him in the comments. Where do you find comfort in a single life? That's exactly where I would find it. For women, being single used to be a threat because it meant you had no access to money or a job or shelter or transportation or protection, anything. Nowadays, if a woman can get a job, what's the threat? What's the threat of being single? There is no threat to a woman of actually being single. You could go out there and get a little bit of dick anytime, for free. And most men can't say that, especially, the bottom 60% of men that y'all talk about. The reason they're so upset about being in the bottom 60% is because they can't go out on the streets and proposition women and women go home with them. Women can do that. That's like the easiest thing for a woman to do. In fact, it's so easy, most women choose not to do it. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Get on a dating app as a woman, you can easily get a hookup. And even within that, why don't most women do that? Because it's still not even rewarding enough. Like, you're still probably not going to have a great time. Men just don't offer anything that women want, unfortunately. It's unattractive. Another really great part of single life as a woman is nobody has unrealistic and lopsided expectations of you versus your man. Nobody's going to be over here telling you, well, it's your fault that your man cheated and you should have looked nicer and you shouldn't have been looking dirty and raggedy all the time, even though he left all the housework for you to do, even though he never lifted a finger to help with the kids. It was still your fault that he had so much fucking time on his hands because you were busy doing every single fucking thing. It was still your fault that he went out and cheated on you. Whereas for men, it's like, oh, she cheated on you, bro? No questions. Kick that hoe out. Divorce her and take everything. It's a completely different response. It's a completely different expectation. Men are not expected to bring cooking, cleaning, child-rearing skills into a relationship. Only women are. It's actually very easy to be happier single for women because nobody's telling them that you need to be the bee's knees and a bag of chips. Otherwise, even the most worthless of men won't love you. As for men, the standard is a woman should love you no matter what, and if she doesn't, she's a bitch and a hoe, and women have just been brainwashed by feminism, and they just want to take everything from you. Meanwhile, women are literally giving at their own expense. Women have glow-ups. Women have better career success. Women live longer outside of relationships with men. I think that's where they find that comfort, if you're wondering. Whereas men fall apart because they're not taught the necessary survival skills. Only women are, and men depend on women for those survival skills. So men are the ones that end up alone and sad and not comfortable. Women end up actually very comfortable because they have all the necessary survival skills, and men don't really provide anything to them that they don't already have on their own other than a little bit of sausage, which they can go out there and get anytime. I'm telling you. They're not very difficult to come by. As a woman, you're supposed to love a man unconditionally. However much money he brings in, women are told to hold men down. In prison, in joblessness, you're told to hold men down. Men are told the more money you have access to better women, you have access to better resources, and women are just part of those resources. So you find comfort in not being a fucking resource to a man. That's the only thing that's been keeping a lot of women from the single life. Women are fine with being single. It's men that aren't. I hope that helps Adam. Godspeed.
So how has your experience? You've been single for a little minute.
I stopped dating. No roster.
No roster.
No talking stage.
Nadia,
nothing.
no roster.
Yeah.
That's rare.
Facts. Yeah, but it's also like I don't think I've ever had this much like sleep in my life, this much peace, this much like comfort. Like my nervous system is settled. I can go to bed at night like not thinking about like like just having that anxiety.
Right.
It's really changed my life for the better. I swear
Yeah.
to God, even like in financially, it's helped. With my career, I've been more focused. Like with my friends, I've been more present. Like I'm able to do things that are like that I love. Like I'm able to do this. Like I don't think I'd be on this podcast if I didn't get into that. And I really truly believe that like Princella, you and Princella, Shira Seven, Slumflower, even like Abraham Hicks, like they all contribute. You guys all contributed to where I'm at right now, which is, instead of that picking better, it's like I don't want to pick. You know, like I don't want to pick.
If it's meant to be, it'll come.
Yeah,
That's kind of where I'm at with
exactly.
it too, because men are distractions, even if they're not toxic. Because I was in like a little vibey vibe, and it wasn't toxic, but at the end of the day, in the long run, we kind of were on the same page. Niggas think the 50-50. I ain't with the 50-50. Bullshit, nigga. Like, fuck out of here.
But it's just like what we were talking about. It's like that bounce back culture is so prominent in the West. Is everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere, that bounce back culture. And it's honestly, it's directed towards women.
Right.
There are men that bounce back for sure from toxic relationships
Yeah.
for sure. But I feel like with women, it's like it doesn't even have to be a toxic relationship. It could be just any relationship, even ones that are ended amicably. You might have a
That's what
come
I'm
up
saying.
afterwards.
No,
like,
and there was already stuff that I was wanting to do. So it's like, all right, so am I going to, in the long run, because I already know what I want, is it smart for me to just invest into this little dance that we're doing because I don't want to be alone? No, it's like you're taking up time I could be putting towards my dream, towards my music, towards my career, towards my working out. You have 24 hours in a day. Majority of us have a job. I have a job. Outside of the job, we got to attend to a man. We need to hang out. Let's go do something. Let's go. Nigga, I'm trying to save the world.
Again, if it's only if you're adding that value.
Yeah.
Like
You gotta
the
be adding.
50-50 shit, that's for the birds. Like, once I'm your wife, then maybe I'll pick up the tab once a year, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
I mean, once
on an
now
occasion, not once a year,
Yeah.
but every now and then. But like that's when you've already established a relationship.
Yeah, you got to invest. You got to earn that. You got to, in the courting stage, we're not.
Courting, no.
I'm not acting wifey in the courting stage.
I'm very like upfront with the courting. Like you are asking for a woman's time. If you are asking for her time, if you are pursuing her, foot the bill.
Yeah. Oh, period. And I'm giving you some months. I'm not showing all of my faces until like I know for sure that you are who you say you are. Because a lot of guys, when they first start dating you, they'll act like they're one person. They'll listen to you. They'll be like, oh, she probably likes a nigga like
And
this.
they'll even
she's into
ask.
this.
They'll be like, what kind of dude you like?
I'm like, why would I give you the answer to the fucking
But most
test?
girls do. Most girls do. And then that dude is so quick to put on a mask.
Yeah, let me. You like crystals? Oh, I do yoga. Like, bitch, you don't do fucking yoga, bro. I had a guy. Like, I have guys that I've dated that like I found out at the end, like, oh my God, you're a liar. You are not who you said you were.
I've dated like con men after con.
This is dangerous. And then we move quick because our culture, hookup culture, moving in quick. You don't really know people.
Oh no.
You don't really know men. They will lie because it's a game to them.
I'm thinking it's
They're
like 5
predators.
years or something like that before you really, really, truly know someone. And you even after those 5 years, if you're not living with them, you still kind of don't even know.
I kind of think a good 6 months, 6 to 7 months. And let me say this, because people don't even know themselves. Every day, everybody's evolving. Are you the same person that you were six years ago? No. So you're never going to really know somebody. But I feel like when you give it up to almost a year, you kind of get somebody's patterns and you kind of get their groove. You kind of can watch their nature, see their nature. You eventually.
I think it's situational. I think that can be the case in some situations, but I think, I don't know, 6 months. I think that's very
6 months
short
to a
amount
year.
of time.
6 months to a year
like
for
a
courting.
woman. I'm saying to get to know a woman, maybe, but to get to know a man,
I mean,
I could be. I don't know. This
6 years. People don't even know themselves. People don't even know themselves. At least like give yourself a good year, maybe a year and a half. I feel like getting to know someone and then to know if you want to be in a real relationship. Because mind you, I've dated guys for a long time and didn't do the relationship thing. You know what I'm saying? Outside of like the recent one, I'll do that. And then I start seeing your patterns and I'm like, oh, his patterns are changing. Oh, I'm starting to see the real him. I'm starting to experience his shadow. Oh, shit. And if his darkness, and if he's willing to work on his darkness and it's something I can handle, then I move forward. And if it's not, then I'm just not, we're not compatible.
I think what I meant by situational is probably, because I think you're right. I think you're completely right. And I think it's a lot easier for someone to pick up on those things when they're in alignment with themselves.
Yeah.
So like, why I have so much resistance to what you're saying is because I was in a relationship where I felt like I didn't know the person until after we broke up like 5 years later. And I was like, who the fuck was that?
Right.
But I think that I wasn't open to listening to the signs, and I think I wasn't in an alignment with myself. So even when the universe did show me these patterns and
Right.
did show me these behaviors, I was kind of like,
Yeah, blinders on. Well, it does. So, like what we're doing right now, right? I do think women have to get a foundation knowledge of like the knowledge that we have started to know about, like the Queenmaker. Like listen to Queenmaker, listen to Sheer 7, listen to Slumflower, and then
even
based
Abraham
off of-
Hicks, I'm sorry. Like,
well, yeah, on a spiritual level,
yeah,
but that's
for
like
sure.
spiritual. I'm talking about like with
men.
relationships. Yeah,
okay, for sure.
So once you learn those foundational things, then when you approach the dating world again, you'll be able to see those signs quicker and be confirmed through your community of women that, versus just moving too quick, having sex too quick. Because even with having sex too quick, it kind of blinds you. It kind of creates an illusion. You know what I'm saying? Where you're not seeing the
100%.
person for what it really is. Even with them putting their dick in you, you know what I'm saying? That is like fun, fucking with your brain and manipulating. Ugh, it's just
our DNA defenses go down if once they come at us. That's it. Like even a little pre-cum and it fucks us up. It really does.
And women, like when we do start getting a little attached, getting a little love, we're like woo woo woo, and that's when our defenses should be up even more. Like practicing detachment, but still experiencing stuff in the moment. Because when a guy emotionally knows he has you, he's like, yeah, I got this bitch right where I wanna.
It's over.
No. I don't think so. I got shit to do on this planet, and nigga, you ain't finna get nothing by me. And if it's genuine, then I'll know what that looks like. But if you run a game, I know what that looks like too.
So Queenmaker, again, we've introduced her in previous episodes. She is one of our gurus. She is, her primary focus is like psychology, it's sociology, but she specialized, I think she got her degree in microbiology.
No, cellular molecular.
Cellular molecular biology. There it is.
Yeah.
And so she breaks things down on a biological level, then she breaks it down on a psychological level, and then she breaks it down on a societal level.
Yeah, her goal is just basically to teach women the nature of men and to help men understand the nature of themselves. So, and like she said, she does it on these different levels. So everything she's saying is coming from a point of fact and truth. So, I mean, we could listen to a little bit just to introduce, kind of like, you feel me?
The Game, 41 Shades of Men. Well, why is it an important book for people to read?
Well, specifically for women, I think women are on the losing end in several relationship structures, whether it be marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, platonic. Women find themselves giving practically all they have with receiving little to nothing in return. And they have a lot of complaints about why things are not going in a certain way. If women knew the nature of men and why men do what they do, they could understand why men come in their lives, and they will then see why they are on the losing end. So men and women are very different. We are more different than we are alike. And if women understood those differences, they would move a lot differently. So the game 41 Shades of Men is about the reasons, the 41 different reasons why men come into women's lives, and neither of those reasons is to actually love her.
Yeah, and because you see that when we do, for women, when they do head towards relationships, like I get people when it's all gone, as clients, when it's all gone pear-shaped, it's gone upside down.
Mhm.
And when you take them back, and I've done it myself, this is not meant as a judgment because I've lived it myself, all
Mhm.
those, we call them red flags now, but all those moments where you're going, that doesn't feel right, that's
Mhm.
not fair, they all come. I always say what was annoying you at the beginning of the relationship is going to really annoy you at the end of the relationship because it's not
Mhm.
changing. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. The thing is that women end up getting in relationships with men looking for something that men are not capable of giving them. And most of what women are looking for are pieces of themselves, that they're searching for in men. And those pieces of a woman is a reflection of a woman. So essentially, women are looking for women inside of men. And men are incapable of being women, and they are also incapable of that very important thing that women are looking for, which is love. You're not going to find that outside of yourself. But women are desperately believing that there is a male counterpart out there that is designed to complete them, which is a problem.
To take away from what she just said, the most important thing is that she doesn't want women to think that's the end all be all.
Right.
Like, yeah, this fairy tale thing that we've been fed, this Prince Charming that we've been convinced exists. It's not that he doesn't, it's that it's something that we've been fed.
Yeah.
And that it's not the most important thing. And it's something that we're looking for, and we shouldn't be looking for it, because looking for it is going to only get us further off of the path that we're supposed to be on.
Yeah, and in harm's way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the half of you is like you have to become full, whole yourself. It's
And
not
you're
like
already-
a half and a half is a whole, a half of a man, a half of a woman is a whole. Like, no, you become whole, and then you'll attract exactly what you're supposed to
Your
attract.
other whole person.
Yeah.
Because again, she's not saying that we don't have our, a soulmate. She's not saying that we don't have, that we don't have, no one, should be with a man, and that no one should think about being with a man. She's literally just saying it shouldn't be at the forefront of your mind. This
Yeah.
Prince Charming, this
Centered.
idea. Yeah, this is not.
Yeah,
Because again, it's going to only take you off of track.
exactly.
From what I've researched about you, you're not anti-male. You're just saying to women that we need to look at our self-esteem and not ask the men to supply that to us, and then be very honest about what man you've got next to you, or who's knocking on your door.
Essentially, yes. What happens is the more you know, the more you see. And it's inevitable that that would happen. So women can deal with men if they want to. But if you're going to deal with men, you're going to deal with men how men are. And the things that women want out of men, once they realize that they will be doing all the work themselves, supplying all of their own needs, they will then begin to ask the question, why is he in my life? Because the male is in the woman's life because he needs something from her. Once women realize that they're not going to get their primary needs from men, it begs the question, why is he there?
It's a
Why is
big
he there?
question.
If you're gonna do it by yourself, then why do you need a male partner? So if women are afraid of being by themselves, then ignorance is bliss. But we all know that ignorance is the cause of all of the world's pain and suffering. So what you don't know will hurt you, contrary to the lies that have been told in the past, that what you don't know won't hurt you. What you don't know has actually destroyed you spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and it has destroyed the planet.
What you don't know will hurt you.
Yeah, well.
That's why, like, you know the girlfriends that we try to put on a queen maker, but they kind of like a little hesitant and resistant to it. Like, if y'all just listen.
It's because people don't want to do the things that are the hardest things are usually the most beneficial things to do.
Yeah.
Like, that's why people are like resistant to like meditation.
Yeah.
You know, meditating requires sitting down and facing yourself.
Yeah.
And like, you know, being okay with that too,
Yeah.
or not being okay with it and facing that.
Right.
Right? And that's hard for people to do, but it's so fucking beneficial in the end.
I mean, you're living, right? And we have to procreate with men to create families. So, like, why wouldn't you want to know everything there is to know about this field of study, which is the nature of men? So it's like you're just willingly just putting yourself and wasting your time and putting yourself in harm's way instead of, like, knowing. I don't know. I just don't get it.
I just know that I had just said that, like, I feel I said what the white girl said to Queen Maker, which was like, oh, so it's not that, you know, we don't have a soulmate in the end. It's that, you know, it shouldn't be on the forefront of women's minds because it's what's and Queen Maker kind of was like,
he's like, the more you know, the more you see.
And she's very adamant about that, though. She's like, she be wildin' sometimes.
Well, she do be wildin', but the moral of the story is men need to cultivate their feminine energy.
Okay. Yeah.
That's when it would be appropriate to date a man. Once he knows his nature, understands when his nature's operating through him, can cultivate his feminine energy, which then
balances out his masculine.
Yeah, and the compassion comes in, and, you know, and then you also don't look at women as an object, you look at them as an equal. And then you honor and treasure and appreciate the role of the feminine. And then you'd be good enough to date. And then maybe we'll see. But until then, stay in the corner over there.
So learning the nature of men is very critical because the entire world is under patriarchal rule. And we have all been forced under this rule. So if we don't learn who men are at their core and why they exist on the planet, we will continue to perpetuate the problems that we are complaining about and we are suffering from.
It's interesting because I've had, you know, leading up to the conversation with you, I've asked women, you know, like, how do you see, what are you experiencing? And a good friend of mine summed it up, and she said, we've gone from being hidden in the kitchen to being given all the jobs. She said, you know, like in her relationship, she said, I did everything. She said, but I'll give him one thing. He used to do the mechanics. If something went wrong with the car, that was and occasionally mowed the lawn. And she said, other than that, I did absolutely everything. So she said, I feel, it was a funny conversation, but she said, I feel ripped off that I was told I could do it all and have someone supportive next to me helping each other. And she said, I just got all. I got everything. I got to do everything.
Because the unfortunate reality, which women have not understood, is that men and women are not the same. We are fundamentally different. And the nature of a woman is production, producer, provider, protector. That's the nature of a woman. That's not the nature of a man. The nature of a man is consumer. That's his nature. And all of the duties that were to be shared between women. Men don't do anything. They consume, right? And so they get their own private hen that lays the golden egg, and they consume until that hen can't lay anymore, and then they go look for another hen. That's the nature of a male all over the globe. And because of that, it has depleted the entire planet's resources, right? It has depleted women. Women's cortisol levels are through the roof. They are affected by autoimmune disease because of the continued stress by having a partner who places all of the work onto them. And women have been taught to not like other women and despise and compete against other women for a male. And this has caused great destruction, calamity, and everything all over the planet because women are not sharing the loads between themselves. A single woman is not a woman without a man. A single woman is a woman without a community support of women.
Oh,
And
wait. So let's
every
repeat that.
A single woman is not a woman without a man. A single woman is a woman without a community of women.
Ooh, that's the bar. That's a bar.
She spit. She spit.
That's a fucking bar. So are we technically single? We have community.
Oh, okay, so
Okay.
because technically we're in a relationship with each other. Everybody's in a relationship with each other. It just depends on what the relationship is. It doesn't have to be a sexual, intimate, whatever relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, it is pretty intimate. But
It
it's
is.
like, like it doesn't have to be the relationship that we think of when our brain goes to relationship, right? Something more platonic. That's what she's talking about, like you're never alone. You're never alone when you're in a community of women.
Programming. So we got to change to single programming. Just because you're single in this area doesn't mean you're
alone.
Just because I'm single doesn't mean and I'm single by choice.
Facts, period.
And when you divide women up and you boggle them down with all of the housework, boggle them down with kids, then you separate women because now you don't have people sharing amongst themselves and dividing up duties. All of the women are boggled down with the duties of their individual household, and the males do not help you. Just like the bees, the male bee, which is the drone, is not built to do the work that the female bees do. He doesn't have the parts. He's not capable. He doesn't have a stinger. He doesn't have the pieces on his feet that are capable of carrying pollen. Like, he's literally incapable, right? So the only thing that he can do is consume the food that the females bring to the hive, right? Until it's time for him to leave during the winter months after mating season is over. So when you look in nature, the male's cap of what he's capable of doing is practically the same throughout nature. The human male is no different. So women have to change how they see the world. We've been sold wolf tickets as women. We have been sold the idea that your destiny is to get married and have children. That's the apex.
That's something I've been something I've been talking to my friends about a lot, is that, like, because I keep successful, beautiful women that have value in themselves around me, and I find that a lot of them are like, all right, well, they're complete in themselves, and they think the next step to be fully complete is to have a man, is to have a husband, and it's like, girl, you're already
good. Like,
you're already full. You're already whole. A woman doesn't need to add a man to her list, to her resume to add value.
Yeah, like, if you don't have a man, you're not as valuable.
And that's really what it is, the programming of being like, oh, well, what's wrong with her? Why
doesn't she have a man?
Yeah, when it's like, no, look around, baby. Look around.
Listen, what Cher say, men are dessert.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't need it.
I mean, I love men. Men are cool. But I don't need a man. They're just for fun. My mom said, you should go find a man that has money. She said, Mom, I am the man with money. When I heard that, I was like, that bitch on the song.
Sparked a fire in me.
And she's like 70-something. And she got a little younger.
Oh, my God. I just saw this TikTok, actually, of, like, all of her outfits when she had her own show. Yo, they went
She's
went
a
crazy.
baddie.
They went crazy.
The OG baddie. And like, if you really think about it, if you had all the money in the world, would you be worried about settling down and finding a man? No, you'd be fucking having fun. A lot of the times the settling comes in is because, like, women feel like
they have to because of their situation, survival mode almost, where it's like, okay, this is the time, that I'm supposed to.
If I don't have a kid right now, I'm never gonna.
And it's like, but what? The money, you're right.
If you have all the money in the world, you're not
You're
about
not
to be...
gonna be looking for a dude to complete you.
No, you're gonna be having fun.
Yeah.
You're gonna be having fun. You're not about to be worried about no nigga. And if you was, you'd be like, okay, come here. Okay, bye.
Like she said, she was like, all right, it's not like it's wrong to want a guy for dick, but it's also like it's good to differentiate when a dude is doing more damage than good.
Yeah. Because I like, one thing I've liked about my superpowers since I've been evolving is like, soon as a man comes into my life, I'm like, all right, I know what he's good for. And I put him in that category. I don't build illusions anymore of like, maybe he's the one. I look at his nature, I'm like,
And you have to be very specific about what you want. Even if it is like, there are different things from different men, you know, like different types of men, but like you have to be specific. It's like that analogy that I told you about. I don't remember. I saw it on Instagram one day. But it was basically like choosing the person that you're with or that you want to involve yourself with is like choosing a house. And the more specific you are, the easier it is. Because say you don't know what kind of house, you know, what kind of flooring you want. Anytime you walk into a house, you're like, well, okay, maybe. But say you know you want hardwood floor.
Exactly.
Every time you walk into a house that's carpet, you immediately turn around.
Exactly, because you don't want that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you don't know you don't want carpet, if you don't know you want hard floors, you walk into a place, you're like, oh, well, maybe I could fix, you know, this and fix that and fix it. When it's like, no, you didn't want that in the first place.
Yeah, so don't settle. Don't settle. Why? When there's other houses out there. Like for me, like, all right, I know that the universe be universing. So I know that, like, if I'm supposed to be with who him is out there, then it's gonna come. Until then,
I'm cool.
I'm cooling. I'm having fun. I'm doing my music. I'm doing my podcast.
Cool
I'm in
as
my
a
bag. I'm
cucumber.
evolving. If a man comes into my life, because we have people that come into our lives for seasons and then long term. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you operate and when you understand your attachment, like,
Your attachment style.
your attachment style, there we go. Then it's easier to navigate because, like, I used to be anxious attachment. Then I'm, like, secured attachment now. So I can experience people with accepting who they are just as they are without, you know, putting any expectations or anything like that. And then it's like, okay, we having fun. It's for the moment.
Yeah.
And then when the moment's over, the moment's over. But guess what? I'm so secure in myself. What I have going on that, like, I don't need you. This was nice. But, you know, keep it moving.
And I only learned that with time.
Yeah.
I find that when I was younger, it was a lot harder for me to, I had a very anxious attachment style.
Yeah.
For sure. But
Yeah.
no, that's definitely, I would consider that my superpower for sure. Is being very secure.
Once I learned that anxious attachment style, that's what I'm saying. Knowledge really just helps you unlock and identify parts of yourself that you did not even know.
Bro, my yoga student, he was telling me his daughter, who's like 17, she was like, Dad, you know, I think I have an anxious attachment style and I really need to work on it. And I really want to work on blah, 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 blah. And I was like, damn, like if I knew what that even was at 17,
Bro.
The powers I would have right now.
What? I would have not gone through half of the fucking emo drama shit.
Like, that's nuts. That's nuts.
Saves you a lot of time.
Yeah, it does. And I love that for the future generations of women to
Yes.
come. Like, I love that for the youth.
Yeah.
That's just so beautiful.
Yeah, we're doing the work for them.
We're here.
We're doing the work for them.
that's a
From
fact.
Queenmaker to, like,
To
all of us
Sunflower,
participating and
yeah.
sharing in our
To
communities.
4B, bro.
Yeah, 4B. I'm so proud of those women.
Yeah, so Slumflower is another influencer. She does a lot more than influencing, honestly. She also, besides her podcast,
She has a book.
she has a book. She's a dominatrix.
She's fucking hot.
She's dope. She, like, literally goes and speaks at, like, different settings, you know, for, I think she was in the government, like, I don't know where she was here.
She
It
was
looked
in
like,
Oxford, and they were doing a debate.
Okay. I
Yeah,
like
they were
that.
doing a debate in Oxford. So this is where we are at in our lives right now when it comes to the men.
She explains it beautifully. She
Yes.
really does. She has a perfect way to explain it.
Couldn't have said it better ourselves.
And so my work is all about encouraging women to dream beyond being loved by a man. Because the reality is, if you are in love with yourself and you are living a life that you have chosen and not settled for, the love will inevitably find you, but that love will never in any way compare to the love you already have for yourself, because you set that foundation. And the love that could come from any man, no matter how amazing he is, will only be an external addition to something that already exists internally. And so it is important that through this conversation, hopefully, we leave with the opportunity to confront and interrogate the ways that we understand love as it is fed to us today. And it grants us room to also identify the ways that we use love as a way to distract ourselves from seeking personal purpose. Because even when you find the partner that you feel is for you, there is always going to be more work to do. And so in the grand scheme of the conversation of women sacrificing too much for love, I do believe that the biggest sacrifice a woman makes for love is the sacrifice of her own self, her own identity, the version of her that she could be outside of making herself malleable for the opportunity to be loved by someone who barely is changing anything about himself in order to be with a woman.
She
spoke fucking facts.
Yeah, and it really is the distraction of, and it's not to say that love is a distraction, but it's to say that the wrong men who try to convince you that they love you, that is going to really push you off of the course to find your own life's purpose.
Yeah.
That's what she was talking about.
That make you choose, like, between love or... No woman should have to choose between their love or their fucking career. Yeah. Like, if you're not in supportive of what her purpose is... then you're out of your, then bye. It's not meant to be.
Your career, your dream, your whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like your aspirations, like it doesn't even have to be your career. Like, but yeah.
Like how dare you feel like you could come in between me and what I was put on this earth to do.
Sacrifice anything. Just
for
anything
you
in general. Like family, anything. Yourself.
Yeah.
All of that.
That's why you gotta be bringing something else to the table, baby. Cause...
So yeah, we're here to really promote that self-love before the, you know, before seeking love outside of you.
For sure. Self-love, knowledge of self, know what you want, know what you don't want, and just be able to be alone with yourself. That way you don't need other people's validation.
And be very specific with all of those things too.
Till next time. I think the next episode we need an advice column now.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So if you have any, you know, if you want some advice, hit us up in our DMs.
Yeah,
it will stay anonymous.
Everything's anonymous.
Everything's
anonymous. We're just going to be giving a little bit of our
advice.
Yeah, our own little knowledge that, you know, we might be able to help.
Exactly. And follow us at What the Fuck Is Nirvana podcast. Okay, and I am Deusa.
I'm Nadia.
All right, you guys have a good night. Mwah.